In the oncoming world of omnipresent AI, reputation is a form of capital. Reputation is also a vector for almost all outcomes. And reputation is often the biggest unmanaged risk within a family office or family business scenario. The first trend is the rise in AI decision making. We've entered a world where decisions about who a family, an individual, or a business really are, what they stand for, and what they are all about, is mediated not by humans making their own interpretations, but by AI. The notion of Google that we've had for the last 22 to 23 years, where somebody will search a subject and Google will present multiple pages for an individual user to click through independently and then make their own determination, is almost entirely obsolete. In the future, the near future, almost tomorrow, in fact, AI search will make an intelligent determination on behalf of the user. AI will decide what it thinks is realistic and has substance, and AI will present that all to the user on a single page with all information aggregated. When a user no longer has to make their own determination, managing reputation for this AI becomes a very different thing to do. And whilst I use the example of search, you could extrapolate that same example across all of the AI tools used by banks for KYC, across media, across many uses of AI. And that really is the point. When AI becomes endemic to human decision making, reputation will manifest in the generative engines of AI. Managing reputation means feeding those generative engines. Trend number 2 is the fundamental shift from a world of algorithm to a world of AI. We've been living for 20 years in a world of algorithm where conventional, let's call it legacy media, remained dominant. It remains dominant to reputation and definitive to reputation because algorithms operate by ascribing trust. If Bloomberg writes something about you, then in a world of algorithm, Google, for example, knows to trust Bloomberg. And therefore, if Bloomberg says it, or any other equivalent legacy established media title, Google believes it must be objective and true. But an AI search, an AI engine, it can trust, but it doesn't need to. Because AI search can also verify. If an AI search determines an item that Bloomberg or the Financial Times have said about an individual, AI can immediately assess and make an intelligent determination as to whether that claim actually has substance. It can search every frame of every video across platforms. It can look at blog content, social media content, especially owned channels. And it will look at social media chatter, key blogging sites, essentially digest the entire digital world, including the often hidden world of structured data. If AI can't find tangible cross-media, recent and consistent substance about a reputation attribute that the legacy media is seeking to claim, then that no longer forms a part of the reputation that AI intelligently determines to present to users. This means building reputation across media around substance. Mainstream and legacy media remains important, in particular for credibility, but it is no longer definitive in the way that it once was. Building a reputation requires a media element, but it must be a single smaller component of a much more intelligent, creative, technology-driven strategy. Moreover, there's been a change in media. The democratisation of media is upon us. There's lots of democratised individual blog writers, journalists running YouTube channels, influencers, small and specialist media outlets. The world of media has been completely democratised, and the notion that managing reputation is something that can be done on a one-to-one basis with a few key media titles is also becoming quickly obsolete. You need to own all aspects of your reputation. The democratisation of media also throws up other challenges. As legacy media have struggled to adapt their business models to a changing technological world, more pressure is put on fewer journalists. Younger, less experienced journalists are hired, often on lower salaries, with less time to do proper due diligence. News organisations look for clickbait, and wealthy families and businesses make for excellent stories. The chances of a legacy news title writing a story that does not have full accurate due diligence therefore becomes heightened. So even though the legacy media is not definitive in the way it once was and becomes a component part of the required solutions for managing reputation in the modern world, it does now also introduce a much heightened risk factor than it did before, and that also requires careful management. The strategies really are to build independently your content studio, your content channels, in such a way that media organisations want to collaborate on stories because you've already proven that the story has substance and has audience that that same media organisation wants to participate in. The fourth trend is the weaponisation of litigation. Across the world of single family office and ultra high net worth individuals, we've seen in recent years a significant increase in the number of unfounded, unsubstantiated, and often vexatious litigations started against individuals or companies on the basis and on the quantum that the other side believe they can embarrass the client into making a financial settlement simply to avoid the potential reputational damage of the process of litigation. Often even lawyers can miss this, focusing instead on legal merit and not on the strategies being deployed by the other side, which is to seek the maximum possible financial settlement in as minimal time as possible. In many ways, this is a function of the growth in the litigation funding as an asset class market, where the focus is on pressurizing early, cheap settlements with as little legal cost as possible. The only way to really defend against vexatious litigation and the potential damage that it can cause is to proactively build a resilient and resistant reputation. If litigation has already started, there's still lots that can be done. But what's most important is not seeking to manage reputation entirely through legacy media, but adopting an AI-first, forward-looking approach. The fifth trend is the rise in AI verification. If an individual, a family office, or a business are seeking to broaden their horizons, visit new frontiers, become more global in their commercial, investment, philanthropic, and private interests, then inevitably it will become necessary to verify who they are across multiple government agencies, multiple financial institutions, and many other organizations that will use AI to verify identity. Identity is not just about who an individual is, but what they are all about. When searches take place using AI to verify identity and purpose, then having no reputation can be just as big a red flag as having a damaged reputation. It therefore becomes absolutely vital to proactively feed the generative engines of AI with substantive content that evidence who a person, a family, a business or a family office are. Because if that's not done, then when a reputation challenge does rise, that becomes the dominant narrative inside the generative engines that are used to verify reputation. And when that happens, it's very difficult to persuade that AI that that narrative is no longer relevant and to make it look at an alternative verification. The sixth trend is the risk velocity of information. We're living in a time where a single story can propagate across AI generative engines and across social media within seconds or minutes. The notion that a crisis can be managed or a single adverse reputational event could be managed through direct intermediation with just one or two journalists has also become almost entirely obsolete. This heightened risk velocity of information creates a much higher risk factor in regard to reputation, but also necessitates that reputation is actively managed to reduce the risk of contagion if an adverse reputation event occurs within conventional media. For support managing your reputation on a worldwide basis across an international team with worldwide offices, contact Michael Macfarlane Associates. Our culturally diverse, multilingual, worldwide team operates on a global basis. We abide by our values of trust, intelligence, and discretion. If you need support with your reputation, Michael Macfarlane Associates would be happy to speak with you.